Mr. Speaker, over the past several weeks, evidence has come to light of fraud and corruption in the global warming scientific community, or as it is now called, the climate change community. These shady scientists have made claims of a global warming apocalypse and created fear in the world that we're all doomed because man is the enemy destroyer of planet Earth. But now thousands of their emails were recently leaked to the public. These emails, written by scientists at the British University of East Anglia, expose fraud and corruption in their global warming claims. Now Climategate is being exposed. These snake oil salesmen have been caught in their lies to the world. These are the very scientists who formed the foundation for world global warming claims. American politicians, the United Nations, everyone claiming that the world is headed for this global warming catastrophe, base their views on this information. In these emails, these scientists conspired to destroy their own email discussion of data that contradicts their global warming claims. They discuss discrediting members of the scientific community who disagree with them. They even wish some of these dissenting scientists were beaten. Now, isn't that lovely when you have an opposition? Phil Jones, the director of the Climate Research Unit at the University of East Anglia in England, wrote in his now leaked emails of thwarting access to the data by those who doubt global warming. He talked about getting around British Freedom of Information requests. He didn't want other scientists to get his data because they could expose flaws and faults in his global warming claims. But the bread and butter of these global warming claims comes from what these scientists say is a consensus within the scientific community. Now we learn there is not a consensus about global climate change. The emails show numerous actions taken to silence the dissenting voices and withhold the actual information being used to make their questionable claims. Now, the British University says they're going to release all of their data now. But the scientists have already admitted that they destroyed much of that data. Obviously, they destroyed the data that shows their theory on climate change is a ruse. It is a fraud on the world. That doesn't look like sound science to me. It sounds like they have cooked the books. It sounds like they've picked up an outcome or picked out an outcome and are trying to fix the data to make it say what they want it to say. It sounds like a political agenda. World economies depend on these claims that have clearly been manipulated. The UN Global Warming Summit in Copenhagen that starts next Monday, December the 7th, is using this tainted information. The United Nations wants to exert more control over world energy and emissions and the sovereignty of nations using information that is apparently now faulty. It's tainted with scandal and it's deceitful. People trust any of these claims when they have clearly been manipulated. Well, the American public can be fooled no longer by these pseudo-scientists. One may ask, why would these scientists skew the facts? Well, it's obvious. Governments all over the world give climate change individuals and the climate change crowd millions of dollars in money to study climate change. And if it's man-made climate change is a falsehood, these scientists may fear that their money will dry up. The jury is still out on the global warming theory and the climate change myth. Before Congress passes any legislation based on this theory regarding man-made climate change, we ought to have an open, honest debate from real scientists who don't manipulate the evidence to get an outcome-based conclusion. Further, the EPA should halt all carbon emissions regulations of the energy community until we learn the facts about climate change. Honesty is a prerequisite for conclusions about climate change legislation. And now we learn that climate change is not a well-settled scientific fact at all, whether the mad scientists at the University of Anglia like that fact or not. And that's just the way it is.